All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are talking about the Denver Broncos in tonight's video. 33-10 road domination on a short week. Sean Payton making his return to New Orleans. Folks, since last season's 1-5 start, the Denver Broncos are 11-7 in that span. Only 7 teams actually have a higher percentage in that. It's crazy. The Denver Broncos just ran for a season-high 225 yards, and while Bo Nix didn't play the perfect, most sexy, stat-popping game of the NFL this season, he still won, and he didn't throw any interceptions. They weren't taking silly sacks. It was a really good game for a rookie quarterback on the road in a very short week. Folks, the Denver Broncos are 4-3. The Denver Broncos are 4-3 with a rookie quarterback with a phenomenal head coach. But the Broncos were projected. What were you guys projected? Like 5.5 wins? People actually predicted the Denver Broncos team to win 5.5 games. And I'm not trying to rag on NFL media here, but folks, you look at this defense. I keep saying this because the Broncos won a football game a couple of weeks ago. I think it was against the Jets, and a lot of people were really surprised. As unsexy as that football game was, that was a defensive A+ performance. I remember listening to a podcast and the guy was like, this is like a big time NFL dude. I remember the guy saying, man, I was watching that game and I kept having to pull up Google. I kept having to pull up the Broncos depth chart because I don't know who these defensive players who are making these big time plays. I didn't know their names. Folks, you're going to know these guys' names relatively soon if you don't already. The Denver Broncos are 4-3, and we're talking about them in tonight's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. We try and post at least one Broncos video on this channel every single week. So if we try and get this video to 200 likes, folks, that would mean the absolute world to me. One of the most relieving things for me is the running room. You just ran for a season-high 225 yards. Javonte Williams, season-high 88 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. But folks, their 225 rushing yards, that's the most in a single game since they had 280 back in 2013 against the New England Patriots. Bo Nix ran for 61 yards one Sunday ago in that loss to the Chargers, and that was his season high. That lasted 4 days. He just ran 10 times for 75 yards last night against the New Orleans Saints. I know the passing game isn't perfect, but one big strength I had with the Denver Broncos heading into the season was a running back room. And this entire summer, even before the draft, or even after the draft, your running back room consisted of Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin. You still had Samaje Perine at that point in time, and then you drafted my Notre Dame legend, Audric Estime. And I know he had an unfortunate fumble last night's game, and he just made his injury return a couple of weeks ago. And you had Tyler Beatty. I'm telling you, man, the running room for after the first month of the season, it didn't make any sense to me because I'm thinking Javonte's still a great runner. Bo Nix is very hard to sack. He's very underrated as a runner. Jaleel McLaughlin can do a little bit of everything. He's a game changer. He's a playmaker. You throw him in there, he's going to make a positive play on the football. And the running room in the first couple of games of the season was it was so weird how poorly it was working. And for me, if my running back room, I've kind of viewed the running game as your quarterback's best friend, like a young rookie quarterback's best friend. And, if you're having dudes run for 35 yards, let's say Javonte ran 12 times for 35 yards in week 2, that puts Bo Nix and your offense in a very difficult position. Now, obviously, a ton of things go into the running room, et cetera, but I'm so glad to see this running back room, specifically Javonte Williams, looking like himself, because it's going to go a really long way, and it already has. But Bo Nix is a passer. Last night, 16-26, nothing crazy, 164 yards. Most importantly to me, Bo Nix threw no interceptions for the 3rd time in the last 4 games. It wasn't great, though. I do want to see more checkdowns. It seems like last night specifically, there were a couple of plays. I would say there were 5 or so passing plays where somebody was open and Bo was just not able, for a multitude of different reasons. He just wasn't able to get the ball to him. So I do want to see maybe more checkdowns to open receivers. As my former quarterback Aaron Rodgers used to always say, checkdowns are where you make your money. It got off to a really slow start, opening drive punt. They scored on their next 6 straight possessions. But then, like, for an example, Denver had their first touchdown drive early on in the second quarter, and Javonte ran the ball in. But Bo Nix on that drive was 3 of 3 for 48 yards. So with a rookie quarterback, especially, I'm not concerned about statistics. In fact, the only statistic I'm really looking at specifically with a guy like Bo Nix is, are you turning the ball over? Are fumbles an issue? Are interceptions an issue? Are sacks an issue? And that has not been the case in all 3 of those categories for Bo Nix thus far, 7 games into the regular season. Like, guys, you're 7 games into the regular season with a rookie quarterback, and you're freaking 4-3. Like, that's phenomenal. We're also seeing a little bit of Troy Franklin. He had 5 catches for 50 yards last night against the Saints. But defense is obviously this team's bread and butter. This is, they pride themselves. Denver said they were priding themselves this season on being the best defense in the NFL. And some Broncos fans from this summer had not, I don't want to say like hesitations, but there were, is JFN, like, was it that good of a signing? Like, it is. And you're seeing it. Malcolm Roach, the draft pick of Jonah Ellis, Riley Moss's development. Like, this defense is loaded with talent. They rattled Spencer Rattler. They sacked him 6 times. They forced 2 fumbles. 1 was returned at the end of the game for a 66-yard touchdown. The Broncos defense started the game off getting burned by a 32-yard play-action play, and after that, they practically gave up nothing. Keep in mind, I know Derek Carr is out of this game. I know wide receiver 1 and 2 for the Saints and Shaheed and Chris Olave were not playing. But it's still a very short week, and you still got to do what you got to do. But Pat Surtain did not play in that football game, and guys really stepped up. Their defense currently leads the NFL with 28 total sacks. In fact, the Broncos have 12 different players this season who have recorded a sack. Entering this week of week 7, there are 9 teams in the NFL who don't even have 12 sacks overall. The Broncos have 12 dudes who have recorded 1 at least. Nick Bonito, 5th straight sack, the longest streak in the National Football League. The stats were even better from last night's game. Spencer Rattler, 25 of 35, 172 yards, no touchdowns, but he had no interceptions. The running back room with star running back, Alvin Kamara, they held him to 10 yards on 7 carries. That was the best Saints offensive player last night. So, yeah, maybe they gave up, like 4.7 yards per rush, and they gave up almost 100 yards rushing. But their star running back, their best player on offense last night, had 10 yards on 7 carries. The Broncos also limited the Saints to just 4 of 16 on 3rd down. This team's legit, and we've said it for a multiple different weeks now. If the defense plays the way they are, and if this defense is legit like we've seen in the first half of this season, you're going to be in almost every football game. But what we want to see moving forward, specifically with Bo Nix in the offense, is consistency for a full 4-quarter game, right? And that's going to come eventually, and you're still 4-3. So, folks, hit that like button, hit that sub button for me. Let me know your comments on that game down below. Just hype it up. Just hype it up. You guys deserve this. You're 4-3 with a rookie quarterback almost halfway into the season. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Peace.